nice. Alright, so now I have to go take care of that fuel pump module. So it looks like we need to lower the spare or just get it out of the way. So you can just lift up this seat right here, and I'm assuming this is what we need to lower that spare. Alright, so I got this out of that set, and it's gonna go right inside of here at an angle up there. It's kind of hard to see, but that's where it's gonna go to lower the spare tire. Alright, I must admit that I'm amazed. This spare tire has never been removed since 2005, and you turn it counterclockwise, and guess what? It's lowering. No issue at all. I thought it would be seized and locked up and it wouldn't want to move, but it's coming down. With the spare tire out of the way, we get a closer look at the module now. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove it. Now I thought about testing and things like that. Now I just, after messing with the starter for 3 or 4 days on this thing, trust me, I don't want to work in this truck any longer than I have to. So clearly the module is destroyed, so I'm just gonna go ahead and change it. Testing it would be just driving it around. If it doesn't stall out anymore, then I'm just gonna consider it a fix, because before you couldn't drive the car for 30 minutes without it stalling out. Alright, so here's the module. As you can see, it's only held on with 2 8mm bolts or fasteners, and yeah, this is how it came off in pieces like this. And you turn it over and all this crap, look at that, it's coming out of here. But definitely a problem, but is it our real problem with the mass airflow sensor code? Honestly, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not gonna test it. Clearly, just by looking at this, it needs a new module. So is this, maybe it's premature of me to say that this is gonna fix my problem. Maybe it won't fix my problem, but it's definitely a problem. Okay, so that's the reason why it's getting replaced. To me, I don't feel like this is shooting the parts cannon at the truck, because it's very clear that it needs this module. So with that out of the way, now I'm just gonna go ahead and clean up this surface right here and get it ready for the new module. Now Ford actually has a new design. You saw how that one just was directly mounted to the frame, whereas the new design is they supply new bolts that keep it maybe about a 1/4 inch off of the frame, so it's no longer gonna rest on the frame, and it won't create that corrosion of having 2 dissimilar metals, which is like galvanic corrosion. So this is something they've implemented from Ford. I think it's a good idea. Now there's going to be a gap between the aluminum and the steel frame, and of course I'm going to go ahead and spray this with CRC. I should have done it earlier to give it time to dry, so let me go ahead and do that right now. This stuff is great at protecting from corrosion, and that's all it needs. It's covered. So what I'm going to do is, like I said, prep the frame of the car, clean all that crap off of it, and spray a coat of this on the frame as well. Alright, so I've cleaned off the frame here with a wire brush, and I've already sprayed the CRC, and then I installed both of the new studs, and again they also got a coat of CRC. And now that the studs are in place, we could go ahead and install the new module. Alright, so I got the module in place. I'm just going to go ahead and tighten down the 2 nuts on top. You don't got to go crazy with these, you just want to get them snug. Should be good enough, and simply all you have to do now is plug it in. Of course, you want to check your connector and make sure there isn't any corrosion inside of here. This one looks nice and clean. There we go, it's plugged in. Alright, so let's go ahead, start the truck up, and I'm just gonna let it run while I put the spare tire back up and all that stuff. Start it up. Hopefully it'll start. Alright, so I'm just gonna let it warm up, because sometimes the truck would just stall out, even just idling. So even if this module does not fix the stalling issue, it's not like it was a waste of money, because it needed it anyway. With that module cracked open like that, it's exposed to water and anything else. And if there's one thing we know about electronics, is they don't mix very well with water. Okay, so whether now or later, that module is gonna have to get replaced either way. So I do not consider that module a waste of money if it doesn't fix a problem. Not at all. If it turns out we are still getting problems or codes for the mass airflow sensor circuit, then we'll dive deeper into that and figure out what's wrong with it. Actually, before I go ahead and lift up the spare tire, I'm just gonna go ahead and check the tire pressure on it and add air if it needs it. This thing has about 10 psi in it, so I'm gonna go ahead and top it off. Alright, so the tire is completely filled up to its correct psi, and that's one thing people really don't think about, is their spare tire. Not, well, at least not until you know, about 2 a.m. on the expressway and you put your spare wheel on, and then you find out you're up Shit's Creek at that point. Alright, so I decided to put air in all of the tires while I was at it, and the truck's been running for about 40 minutes now, and it's still running. No hesitations, no nothing. Show you it's still running. This truck is pretty quiet. Okay, typically trucks of this year, by now they're all run down into the ground and completely rot, like the body's rotted away, the exhaust manifolds are leaking, and they sound horrible going on the road. This truck still drives like a brand new truck. I put this here because, you know, I don't want dirty the seat when I sit down, but so far no problems. I know it's not a definitive test. Of course, I have to still drive the car around and see how it goes. It's looking promising. Like I said, 40 minutes so far and no problems at all. Alright, so we are back with our F150 and it's time to do a little bit of a maintenance, nothing crazy. So here we have a brand new air filter, a serpentine belt, and a brand new fuel filter, because I'm pretty sure the fuel filter that's on this truck is a original one from 2005. And I know it's going to be a nightmare to change that thing because of rust. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started on this. I'm not sure if there's a way to bleed off fuel pressure on this truck. If I can't find a way to relieve the pressure, all I'm going to do is let the truck sit here overnight. Hopefully the pressure will die off enough that if I come out tomorrow morning, I could remove the old filter without too much hassle. Oh, and by the way, it's been, I don't know, but I want to say it's been over a month since I replaced that fuel pump module. And guess what, guys? It fixed the problem. We were getting a mass airflow sensor code and it was never the mass airflow sensor at all. In fact, I've already even put on the original Ford mass airflow sensor. I put it back on the truck because all along it was a fuel pump module that was causing that issue. Yeah, super weird, but you know, it kind of makes sense, you know, in hindsight. If the truck is losing fuel pressure, it's going to affect the way the engine's running, and it's going to start to throw off the air fuel ratio, and then the truck thinks that, hey, something's wrong with the mass airflow sensor because we're not reading the correct amount of air. So not enough fuel or fuel pressure really messes with all kinds of sensors. But yeah, I could confidently say the truck is running perfectly. It's been so ever since we changed that module. You know what? I think I'm just gonna kind of do this and just leave it and save that new air filter for a different time, because this looks really good. I mean, like borderline like brand new. I'm sure you guys can agree with me. That's nothing inside of these pleats right here. Look at that. It's like a brand new filter. Yeah, I'm not gonna change this. It doesn't need changing. Alright, so here goes the old belt off of the truck. You can see it's not horrible. It is developing some like minor cracks on it, but nothing crazy. But just like everything else on this truck, it's not really so much about the items being worn out, used, or just straight up I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. You know, let's just stick with worn out. It's more of the age. This truck is just, it has low miles, but it just sits, you know. So a lot of the parts need to get changed just because they're old, and that's about it. As you can see, I got the belt on and I've already started the engine for a few seconds to make sure everything's okay, and everything looks pretty good from here. Definitely not the easiest belt I've ever had to put on, but also not the hardest belt. So I think that's it. Again, I'm looking over here. I don't see yeah, I don't see a Schrader valve for fuel pressure to relieve it. And I know these cars have the, I keep saying cars, but you know what I mean, it's a truck, okay? But this truck has the, I think the fuel pump relay is integrated into like the fuse panel, so I don't think you could pull that. I may have to just let the truck sit here overnight, and hopefully it'll relieve some of that fuel pressure tomorrow. Here's the fuel filter. Honestly, it doesn't look as bad as I thought it would look. So it looks like it should come off tomorrow without a problem. Pretty good. The bracket that holds it is kind of rusty, but it's not a big issue. You can see it actually bolts onto the frame right there. If it becomes an issue, we could easily just buy this bracket, buy a brand new one, and that'll be it. Alright, so I decided to spray the new fuel filter with some corrosion inhibitor before we put it on tomorrow. I'm sure it doesn't really matter because I think this is stainless, so you saw the original one on the truck. It still looked pretty decent because it's stainless, it's not going to rust. But there is no such thing as too much corrosion protection, okay? Especially where I live. So let me find a way to hold this thing up and we'll get started. I'll work my way all the way around it. I got it in my eye, burns. I'm gonna go ahead and let that dry. Tomorrow it'll be dry to the touch, we could handle it. Giving it a little bit of a clean. So it is now the next day. As you can see, I've already disconnected the first line. I just tucked it way back there. So I disconnected it and just a few drops of gasoline came out, nothing major. So that's nice to see. It did relieve the pressure overnight. So now I've already, you can see I disengaged that lock, and all I have to do is get it out of this bracket and pull it out of this line. Okay, so I was able to get the entire line and the filter out of its bracket. It just pops out of here very easily. And as you can see, it's a soft line, so you could just move it over here because you actually need a tool to remove this side of the filter. So I'm gonna try these things right here, which you could get at a local auto parts store. See if one of these works. If it doesn't, then I have a little bit of a larger kit right here from Astro, and then we'll resort to one of these. But I'm gonna try this first. Put this inside of here. This might actually be the right tool, and then you push it in and it's going to disengage the clips that are holding it and it'll let you pull the filter out. So I hope that makes sense. Alright, so I got it off, and the one that actually fits it is actually the red one, which would be 5/16, and yeah, not too bad. Also, I got a good amount of fuel going down my sleeve, so that's always fun. Here goes the new filter. You can see the coating from yesterday is all dried up, dried to a touch. Got this side plugged in already, so go ahead, swing it over, put it in its bracket, and that's it, guys. Bob's your auntie, and it's ready to go. Now initially when I first put this side on, I had a drip coming out of it, and I was like, yeah, that's not good. So after it pops in, you just want to make sure you pull it back out to kind of lock in place, and that's when it stopped dripping. So if it's pushed all the way in for the first time, you may see it dripping. Just kind of tug on it outward, you're gonna hear it click, and that's when the drip stopped. This side just popped in without any problems at all. Okay, so I was ready to get rid of this filter, the old one. So I tipped it over and look what I noticed. Okay, this is the side. This side is the side going towards the front of the car, so the engine. Not too bad, right? And this is the side that's going towards the tank. Look at that, guys. See a difference? You can tell the filter was definitely doing its job. Really happy we got this changed out. Alright, so first I'm just gonna prime the fuel pump like 2 or 3 times. I heard the pump turn on. Try it again. And let's try it one more time and go check for leaks. Alright. Well, so far I don't see anything dripping, so that's a good sign. But let's go look at it. So far so good, no leaks. Alright, so I don't think I ever gave you guys a tour of the inside of the truck, so let's go ahead and do that right now. Keep in mind this thing has like 57,000 miles on it, and the inside, the way it is just the way it's always been. It hasn't been detailed or vacuumed or anything recently, but I mean, this truck is in great condition. Look at this door panel, okay? No marks, no, you know, people kicking it or, you know, cuts on it or nothing like that. All right, look at the passenger side seat. Looks like a brand new seat. Like, sure, it could use some vacuuming and maybe even a good detail, but overall, for a 15-year-old truck, this truck is like brand new inside of here. Okay, here's the driver's seat, which gets used the most. No damage to the dash, no cut. I've seen like knife marks on people's dashes, you know, like what the hell happened here, you know? But look at this, it's like brand new. When I show people this truck, they just can't believe it, because, you know, everyone knows I get a lot of piece of crap cars in my garage here that I'm working on. Honestly, a 15-year-old car or truck that comes here is completely destroyed at that point, okay? But this truck, I mean, it needs vacuuming, but look at these rear seats. Everything looks like freaking brand new. It's amazing. I'm not much of a truck guy, but you know, I could tell you when I see a nice clean one, and this is definitely one of them. It's just sad that the truck doesn't get used much, and you know, rust is just eating underneath it. You guys saw, you know, the issue with the starter and just how the bottom of the car looks. But putting that aside, this truck with 57,000 miles on it drives like a brand new 2005 F-150. And I'm not even exaggerating. If you could go to the dealer right now and buy a 2005, let's just pretend it's 2005. If you could go to the dealer in 05 and buy a brand new truck, the way that truck would drive is how this one still drives. It's amazing. You get in this car, it's like a brand new car. Nothing rattles, there's no noise, there's no clunking, nothing. It's perfect. This truck drives absolutely perfect. And again, I'm not a truck guy. I don't like trucks, but I know when I see and drive a good truck, and this is definitely one of them. So it's amazing. But that's it, guys. That's a quick overlook of the interior of the truck. So I just pulled the truck out and it's still running right now. That's pretty much it for this video on the Ford F-150. I just want to make a few comments about this. Is number one, the fuel filter. It's really important to stay on top of these type of things, because number one, it's important that your engine gets clean fuel. Number two, if that filter is dirty, the fuel pump has to work harder and potentially decreasing the life expectancy of your fuel pump. So I hope that makes sense. You know, if there's a restriction in that filter, the pump has to work harder to try to get fuel past that dirty filter, and you know, it could lead to a premature failure on your fuel pump. So yeah, the fuel pump filter, really inexpensive and really easy to change. Just stay on top of it. Okay, and the thing with the mass airflow sensor, that was a simple case of me shooting the parts cannon at it and just wasting money, honestly. Just like any other car, just because you get a code, that doesn't necessarily mean that's a problem. But more specifically on these trucks, because they have the fuel pump module located underneath the truck and exposed to the weather, they are super prone to going bad, how this one did. And I hope you understand how or why it would set a mass airflow sensor when that module goes bad. Because okay, so the engine wants to see a certain amount of air versus fuel come into the engine. Okay, so if we start restricting or losing that fuel, all of a sudden we have air coming in that isn't matching with the fuel. And yeah, I could definitely see that setting a code for a mass airflow sensor, even though there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. Like I said, I put the original Ford one back on the truck and it's been running great, no issues at all. So I'm gonna go ahead and close out the video right here. I appreciate you guys watching, and yeah, give the video a thumbs up if you would, and that's it. Have a good one.